What is going on? Every leader listening has had this moment. You did everything right, and someone on your team was still checked out. You reviewed the process was fine. My guest today says it's not a skills gap, it's a human gap. Milton Corsey spent a decade in the classroom at Rowan before he spent 20 years in boardrooms. Now he's a director of human capital at Achieve Next. And the author of To Lead is Human. Milton, welcome to Leadership Live, now rebranded as the Leadership Lab. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today, Donnie. Looking forward to the conversation.
Oh, it's going to be fun. Milton, I am just going to jump right into it with you. You spent over a decade as a professor and administrator at Rowan before you spent 20 years in leadership development. What did the classroom teach you about leading people that consulting never would have?
Wow, that's a great question. I think that one of the biggest things that the classroom taught me is that, how vital it is if I want to transfer information, if I want to connect with you, I have to connect with you as a human being first before we can talk about the subject, right? If we learn to trust each other, like each other, if we're on the same page, then the information becomes much easier for you to digest. You understand that we're in this thing together, right? Learning and leadership is they're two sides of the same coin, right? We both have to be in this thing together.
So you said something that was really kind of fun before we got on here today, and it was a little bit of a tongue twister, but it had to do with human beings. Can you say that again for the audience, because I feel like that's so relevant for everything that we're going to be getting into today?
Absolutely. Yeah. The thing that I shared with you is this simple axiom, right? Is it's important for everybody, every leader specifically, but everybody, doesn't really matter. You need to understand that human beings are feeling beings that think, not thinking beings that feel. That is the order of operation, right, of every human being on the planet. I don't care if we're talking about a nuclear physicist or just mom and dad, right? At the end of the day, everybody feels first. And it's important for us. If we want to connect with people, if we want to get the most out of them, we have to connect with that human part of them first, that feeling part.
I love that. I'm curious. So I'm a father to 8, and we have
Oh, wow.
5 grandchildren. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grandchildren now. And one of the things that I've had the pleasure of watching, Milton, is the development of human language, where it's like a baby obviously can't say words, but a baby can, like, there's somehow like emotion is picked up. Do you think that like emotion is like the Tootsie Roll center of the Tootsie Pop? Is it like the core of all communication?
Absolutely. I mean, we're hardwired that way. We simply are. Like you said, babies get it. Everybody gets it. Like I'm going to put on my professor cap here for 30 seconds. That's going to be it. I promise the listeners, you're not going to get a dissertation here. But if we look at the human brain, at the center is this thing called the amygdala. The amygdala is where is the driver of what they call the fight or flight framework. And it is the thing that is sensitive to human survival, right? And that's a deeply emotional thing. We get a sense immediately. Like if you ever walk down the street and you'll see somebody, you'll get a sense about that person. Is it safe for me to be on the side of the street with them, or should I be careful? If you're ever out in the wild, you see a deer, that deer is looking at you. That's heightened fight or flight. That's what you notice in those babies when they first are born, and they're looking at you for that connection. And that's what the people who work with every day are looking for, the same thing. What's the connection?
Okay, so should we listen to we'll call it the amygdala? Should we listen to those gut things, whether it's a fight or flight? I know we're going to be talking about how to help others to get around that as well, but like, is the gut, like, is it a trustworthy thought processor?
Great question. To a degree. Again, I already promised the audience that I wouldn't put my professor cap on again, but I'm going to have to really quickly. I apologize. So I won't
Oh,
tell
I'm
you
going to keep
anymore.
dragging it out of you. So get used to
Okay,
it, Milton. I like the professor.
fair enough. Fair enough. One of the subjects I used to teach in college was statistics and quantitative methods, right? And when you think about statistics, there's two types of error that we can make. There's a type one error, a false positive. There's a type two error, a false negative. Right? We are all the descendants of people of operation was false positive. Right? What do we mean by that? Well, we're false positive in as much as that it is safer for us. It's safe for us to assume the worst and act accordingly. So, like I said, we're walking down the street at night. We see a figure coming toward us that is unfamiliar, right? And we get nervous. We cross the street. We do something to avoid that person. Now, the reality is 99% of the time, that person is not even considering you. You're irrelevant to them, right? But
Okay.
you assuming that person will do something nefarious and you protecting yourself, that's a type one error, false positive, right? That false positive allows you to survive. Now, conversely, a false negative, I'm safe, Donnie's not a problem, but Donnie happens to be a serial killer. And I don't act accordingly, I don't get to tell the story, right? So we are all the descendants of people who made that type one error. So that's the default. So
Mm,
I, that's a long, circuitous way to get to your question is how reliable is it? Eh, eh, but it's a thing, and we need to be aware of it.
that's so funny. My
Yeah.
wife and I are takers of the 23 and Me. I'm sure, like with everyone else, that
Mhm.
just gives whoever all of our DNA access.
Mhm.
And one of mine is it Cro-Magnon? One of the or one of the early mankind, right? There
Okay.
is I think I have a higher level of that heavy brow ridge, but also a higher propensity towards risk. She has less risky. I'm more risky, which is pretty funny. So maybe my lineage is we've done the we've done the opposite. We've survived a few of those and lived to
Well,
tell about it. Milton, I'm curious for you. When
sure.
did you first see the human gap up close? So not in theory, but the actual leader, the actual room where you watched someone do everything right, but lose people anyway.
Wow, great question. I think that it probably was the first job I had out of college. Right? It wasn't because I didn't go immediately to the classroom. As you mentioned earlier in the introduction, I was an administrator, and it was one of the things that I learned from the first person I worked for. Right? I'll never forget him. I won't mention his name here. He's long since deceased, and I don't want to badmouth of the dead. He really wasn't a bad human being, but it was actually almost like I don't know if you remember the TV show Mad Men. You ever see it, Mad
Oh
Men?
yeah, the
Yeah, yeah,
advertising one, yeah.
exactly. It was like a scene from that. He pulled out all of the old tropes that from Management 101 from like the 50s. Like I'll never forget one of the things he used to do all the time was you'd walk into his office and he had these two chairs in front of his desks. And I'll never forget I noticed I can't remember how long I was there, but I noticed all of a sudden I'm like, why am I always looking up at this guy? And he wasn't taller than me. I mean, I'm not particularly tall. I'm 5'10". I'm average height, right? I'm an average height guy. But so was he. And I'm sitting in this chair and I'm like, why? And then I noticed the chair, he cut the chair legs.
No.
So that yes,
No.
swear to God. Swear to God. Swear to God. And it was all because he wanted you to have to look up at him.
Oh my
Right.
goodness.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, man, it was Mad Men 100%. It was just unbelievable. And then eventually I figured it out. So I stopped. So I refused to sit down. I just walk in and stand.
Just stand.
Yeah, you're not going to
Yeah.
get me with that, bro. But yeah, I mean, so it was very and so like in my book I wrote right there is I ask people all the time, do you want to be a leader of intention or a leader of impact? Different things. Right?
Okay. What's it
Um,
break those apart? Like
okay,
you
sure,
like
sure,
you
sure.
you give me a
The
tree with two
intention is,
branches. What's the
yeah,
difference?
absolutely. The intention is here's my goal. here's what I want to do, right? It's other focused, it's impact, it's outcomes focused, it's process focused, right? When versus a leader of impact is about the connection that they make with those that they lead. For instance, I'll give you a perfect example. And this is again, this is going way back in time. One of my favorite speeches I ever heard, and I was too young to have listened to the speech when it actually happened, but it was Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. I'm sure everybody
Okay.
or most people have heard of that. With you may not remember it, but you've heard of it. And he gave that speech on the March on Washington, right? And people came to that march from all over the country. This is before the internet, before artificial intelligence, all that kind of stuff. People came from across the country to listen to that speech, right? And if you remember this, like some of the lines of the speech is "I have a dream." It's deeply rooted in the American dream that all men are created equal, blah 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 blah, all that kind of good stuff, right? And he talked about that so passionately, and people came to listen to him. People followed him, not because of his intention, right, to help create a more just and equal society. It was more about the impact that the dream that he articulated was a dream that you had too. People came to watch that speech, not to hear him, but because it was about them. They connected to that.
So is that then the branches? So one is intention, right? You can get something, you can get something done,
Right.
but impact, it sounds like it's almost like the echoes are there even after you're not, and after your passion vacates the room, it's
100%.
connected more with the okay. I love
Yeah,
it.
it connects to you. It's like, think about just the idea of that speech. I have a dream. Think about how that would have resonated if he said, "I have a plan. Here's my 12-point plan of how we're going to do X, Y, and Z."
Hmm. Hmm.
Nobody's
Hmm.
remember that 50 years later. They're just not,
So
right?
so if you were to fill in the blank, a leader is someone who does what? What is a leader?
A leader is not what you do; it's who you become. A lot of that, part of what the book is about, part of what this my thesis is about the idea that leadership is about becoming that person who leads. It's not about a particular skill set that you build. Now, that's not to say that there aren't important skills that every leader needs to master, right?
Mhm.
We do 100%. But the key to being a really good leader is to become the person that other people want to follow. Think about, I'm going to ask you a question. Think about in your life, people that you've met or people you've been exposed to, even if it was somebody who you weren't connected to closely, but maybe there's a former president or somebody, right? You look up and you go like, wow, that guy or that person had impact, right? Think about it.
Sure.
And
Hmm.
what was it about that person that resonates?
Belief, for sure. It is definitely about their belief.
Exactly. It wasn't about their a skill set or even the particular plan that they articulated. It was that you felt connected to that person. There was something about the way that person articulated their perception of the world or where they wanted to take the country, the company, or whatever that connected to you, that resonated with you. And you're like, I'm in.
Mm.
I like that. And while everybody is not going to be the great orator of, and this is not at all political, of a Barack Obama or even that of a Donald Trump in his own way, right? He's able to do that. People resonate with those guys. That's leadership.
S-
So
So
leadership is about becoming. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah, like I wanted you say that leadership is an act of human dignity, not just organizational structure. And
Mhm.
yeah, take us into that because I know like people can look, they're looking at a P&L and they're like, I got to get stuff done, right? So how
Sure.
do you defend leadership as human dignity? How do you defend that to a CEO who's trying to get bottom line results?
Okay. Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that question. I get that all the time. And here's what I would say is that how are you going to get a P&L is a derivative of what? It's a derivative of human action.
Okay.
Period. Right? Whatever it is that we're selling, whatever it is that we're manufacturing, all is driven by humans. That has to happen. Right? Now, we're looking at the spreadsheet, at the quarterly reports and returns, but those are derivative from human action and interaction. So you need to focus on the thing that actually drives those things, right? And it's the people. And how do you get the most out of people, right? The way you get the most out of people is that those people have bought in. And how do they and how do you get them to buy in? They're bought in because they believe what you believe, that you're there, that you have answered in an affirmative way. What I like to refer to as the 3 human questions that every leader gets asked every day, all the time, right? And you answer them every day, all the time, whether you know it or not. And those questions, the question that your team is asking you all the time is, do you see me? Do you hear me? And do you value me? Right? And you're answering those questions every day, all the time, whether you know it or not. Do you see me? Do you hear me? Do you value me? Right? And
wow.
And to the degree that you are answering those things affirmatively, you get buy-in, and you get people who will go. Good. Sorry.
Well, no. I'm like you're making my brain fire back to the first conversation with the amygdala. It's almost like we get like what we're doing is this basically like lowering the threat that the amygdala, like the flight or fight response, is doing, and saying, hey, you're seen, you're heard, and you're valued, and because of that, you don't have to worry about running or fighting. You're part of this thing. Is that what that is?
Don, you get an A. Outstanding. You've now aced the class. Absolutely. 100%. That's exactly what it is. Because if we think about what happens when human beings are frightened or threatened, right? Our focus narrows, our heart rate goes up, our cortisol level goes up, and very narrow, right? Because the goal is survival. That's it, right? We're never going to do our best work in that situation because the goal simply is not about best work. The goal is, am I going to be here tomorrow? Metaphorically, philosophically, that's what that is. But when we answer those things affirmatively, and when we create this idea, and I know this is going to sound a real kind of foo-foo thing, but when we create this idea of of emotional safety or a safe place for folks to bring their full self, we get a lot more from them. They get super creative. This is why if we go and you look at Hollywood, we got to create an opportunity for them to be able to create. So again, all this is that balance sheet or those quarterly reports are driven by human behaviors. You optimize those human behaviors and what they'll bring if you put them in a position where they feel safe, heard, felt, and valued. Period.
All right. Have you seen or heard about the new Spider-Man movie?
I've heard about it. Haven't seen it yet.
This is very tangential. So the interesting thing is, so everyone, myself included, has high praise for this. This is like one of the best ever. To me, it's only a notch behind Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire, but it's that good.
Okay.
One of the reasons for that, and the reason I'm even mentioning it, is that Tom Holland, the actor who plays Spider-Man, is a producer of this, which means he has financial back. He backs it financially. He gets more financial reward, but he also got more say in the development of how the character would be played, portrayed, and the plot that was involved here. And what you're saying here is that the more, there we go. Sorry. What you're saying here is that the more that we actually get true engagement from someone, the better product we're going to be able to bring to the table. And that's what happened.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. I want to get all from I want all of Donnie, not a piece, not a little bit. I want all of Donnie.
Do you ever get resistance? Like, it's because, like, I 100% agree with you, Milton. this like, getting like the number one epidemic in companies right now, it's not that we're losing to AI or any of these other things. It's actually it's not competition. It's that we are not getting complete engagement from people. It's that
Mhm.
expendable effort and energy. But what I also see is a lot of these holdovers, like you mentioned, the Mad Men from like the 1950s stock
Yeah.
exchange, kind of like it's
Uh-huh.
like it's like when we mention things that sound more relational and engaging to an actual human being, it just gets pushed off because, and I don't know if it's because they got to they climbed through the ranks by being some battle hardened warrior or whatever. Do you get a lot of resistance to what it is that you're talking about right now? Have you seen the other side of people just saying that, like, yeah, that's soft, like that's not really true? Like, do you
Mhm.
what
Sure.
what
Absolutely.
what are
Absolutely.
you seeing and how do you push back on that?
Well, what I put, how I put, hey, to answer your question directly is absolutely there. Because those people still exist who believe all that man crap, and so they exist. It's a real thing. Do I get that pushback? I absolutely do. And what I suggest that they do is don't believe me. Who am I? Just a guy. Believe the data. And there is ample data to support everything that I've just shared with you. You can look at um, performance metrics at companies across periods of time, and it's all in the book. Like what I did, because to your point, when I wrote the book, because I knew that it could come off as kind of like, okay, this is some kind of new agey foo foo. We all hold hands in kumbaya. We're gonna love each other, and we're gonna be great. And at the end of the day, like you said, I was a professor in the School of Business, right? I am not a foo-foo kumbaya kind of guy. It is about how can we optimize organizational and operational performance and create the biggest return for our shareholders. That's what they teach in business school. That's what we all know, right? But what I'm suggesting to you is if you look at the research, it will tell you engaged people, connected people, focused people outperform those that don't have those three things. If so, and there is ample research and data out there. So you don't got to believe me. You don't got to take my word for it. You don't have to think, oh, here's this new age, whatever guy. He's trying to get into heaven now. He's an old man. He's trying to get into heaven. No, I mean, I'm a, I'm a capitalist, bro. I'm a capitalist. But at the end of the day, that's the reality. And throughout the book, you'll see there's ample data. There's studies I cite. It's all in the index. I mean, in the appendix of the book, it's there. So I can make an argument for you, a database argument that
Oh
supports
yeah.
what I'm saying.
For sure. It's interesting, and this is just me. I see Milton, and I could be way off, but I see, in the industrial age, everything became interchangeable. How can we get 100,000 of these things with the smallest margin of error as possible? And what happened is the mechanism and the machine was superior to the people that was working it. But if you go all the way back, and I think we probably derive some of that not just from industrial, but from Roman order and structure and thinking.
Mhm.
But if you go back, the word for company comes from compania, where people would eat, break bread together, and trade with people they loved being around. It was an actual a company was an enjoyable thing. It wasn't just to generate. And
Mhm.
it's almost like now, and maybe you can kind of, I want to talk to you about the title of your book and the whole idea of AI and
Mhm.
where does that put people now? Because anyone can do anything. How do you feel like that there's now a greater place for just that organic human structure in these, I don't want to even call them soft skills, but connection skills, relationship skills? Is now the prime time for that? And is that why To Lead as Human is the book for right now?
Uh, Absolutely, 100%. At the end of the day, here's the thing about AI. What AI has done is it has made information ubiquitous.
Yes.
Anybody, right? It's there, right? You don't have to be a scholar. You can go to Chat GPT, Claude, whatever your particular AI tool is, and you can find almost any answer to anything. But again, as I mentioned previously at the beginning of this conversation, all of those things, even the what AI gives us, that data, it still needs to be implemented by human beings, right? It still has to be bought by human beings, and
Mm-hmm.
human beings are by definition, social and emotional beings. You have to connect there. Like, I don't know if you're much of a, I don't know if you have a favorite team in any sport. Do you? Good question.
Couple,
If
yeah,
you don't,
sure,
that's fine.
yeah. NFL. So I'm an
You know what the term,
Indianapolis Colts fan in the NFL. So, go ahead.
that's fair enough. No, as long as you're not a Dallas Cowboys fan, I'm a Philly guy. So if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, we were going to have a problem. But since anything other than that, we're absolutely fine. What does the term, what fan is short for what?
Fanatic.
Boom. Right? Exactly. People are fans of teams where they have that emotional connection. Think about that. That is the nature of, and who are the most rabid diehards of any team? It is their who? Their fans.
Mm-hmm.
You want fans, right? And you get fans, you're in. Right? So it is the same thing. So how do you? And I shared a little anecdote. The idea that human beings are social creatures. We crave that connection. That's a fundamental driver of human behavior. We
For sure.
crave connection. One of the, and I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, but one of the most damaging parts of incarceration is the isolation. You isolate people.
Yeah.
That can
Yeah.
literally drive people crazy. Literally.
Interesting.
Yeah. So human beings, that's key. So
That
to the degree that we create, think about like you're an Indianapolis Colts fan. If you see another Indianapolis Colts fan, right, there's
there's
a
not many
connection
of
there.
us.
No, there are many of
Yes.
you, but when you see each other, there's a connection, right?
Yes.
And you
Yes.
get a positive feeling about that person simply because of that connection.
Yes.
And when we lead people, that's what we strive to do. I want you to be connected to me. I want you to be connected to the vision, mission, purpose, and goals of this organization. Because if you are, you will give me literally everything that you have.
Oh, that's so good. That's so
Because
good.
it's
It's
about
just
you. Yeah.
you might just be helping us build a cult here, Milton. I don't know. I am curious.
Mhm.
If you were to say like, here's some ways to create that connection. There's probably some I don't want to say quick ways to make people feel it. Obviously, all of this is the work is something
Mhm.
that you're committed to because it's like it's a whole thing. What would you say for someone that is they want that? They're like, you know what, we don't have connection. We're all work from home or whatever, like whatever the situation is. How can we begin to get that and to almost put into our companies this synchronicity, this synchronized,
Mhm.
this calibrated beauty that you're talking about?
Sure. Well, there's a couple of things. I think the first thing I would say that anybody who's a new leader, because most people get promoted into positions of leadership because they were really good at the task, right? The person who usually leads the sales team is the best salesperson. The person who leads the accounting team is my best accountant. The person who leads whatever group, they were really good at the thing, right? But like I said at the beginning, being good at the thing and being good at leading people are fundamentally different things. They just are. Right. So one of the most important ways that we can create that connection that we're trying to create at the beginning is to build trust. And how do you build trust? And I'm using an old axiom that I learned from my grandmother when I was a little boy. She was from this little town in eastern North Carolina called Scotland Neck. I know you never heard of it because why would you? It's probably the size of your house. I swear to God, it's a tiny thing. But I'll never forget, she said to me when I was a little boy, she said, you say all the time. You said, son, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them accordingly. What does that mean? Listen to people. Ask them questions. Don't start by telling people. Start by listening. Right? To go back to the 3 questions I asked you, I talked about in the beginning, those 3 human questions. Do you see me? Do
Mm-hmm.
you hear me? Do you value me? Simply by listening, you can answer yes to all of them. Do you see me? I'm listening to you in a meaningful way, not just. And it's funny because I often ask clients, and I pose those questions to them. I said, the folks that you lead, do you see them? And most of them will perfunctory, like they think, do they see them like we can see each other on screen? Obviously, I can see you, and you can obviously see me. That's not what I'm talking about. Do I see you, Donnie? How do I get to see you? I get to ask you questions
Yeah.
about who you are, what drives you, what do you value, what's important to you. That's seeing you, right? And that takes time. I'm willing to take the time to get to know Donnie, ask questions about it, learn about his family, learn about his kids, his grandkids, learn about, why he's an Indianapolis Colts fan. What is it about them? You know, um, I can almost kind of get that because I was a kid. My mother's from Baltimore, and they were the Baltimore Colts back then before they moved, right? So,
Yeah.
so all of those things, and when I ask those questions and start understanding Donnie, what happens is, guess what? Milton actually sees me, not the guy in the position, not the person who's got the title. He sees me, right? Think about the people you care about the most, people who you would do the most for, and who will do the most for you is because they see you and you see them,
Mm-hmm.
who they are, right? And then, do I hear you? Here's the thing: a lot of times you'll go in and you'll take over. I'll become the VP of XYZ division or whatever. Guess what? The people who are doing that job every day probably have some great freaking ideas, right? Or they know a stupid idea when they hear one, right? And I'm sure I don't know about you, Donnie, but in my past lives, I've worked with and for people who said stuff, and in my head, I'm like, that dude's a doofus. That's stupid. That has zero shot of working, right? But because we didn't have this kind of relationship, I'm not going to raise my hand and go, that might be the stupidest thing I ever heard. Man, I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to keep a little tally of that. And I'm like, yeah, I know he's going to, this is going to crash and burn, but I let it crash and burn instead of saying something about it. Why do
Because
I
you
do
weren't
it?
safe anymore.
There
Yeah.
you go. There you go. So I want to create that environment where you can look at me and go, hey, Milt, that's incredibly stupid. Like, quick sidebar. When I was teaching, one of the things I used to always tell my students is there's no such thing as a stupid question. Ask me anything. I don't care what the question is. Ask me, ask me, ask me. And I don't know if it's coming across in the interview or whatever, but I don't take myself too seriously. It's always about having some fun and learning all at the same time. And I remember this one time, this guy asked me a question. I said, you know what? I stand corrected. He goes, what? I said, that was a stupid question. But I could say that, and everybody in the room laughed, and even the young man who said that laughed as well. Why? Because I built up the rapport. If I had said that the first day, it would have been dead silence, and they would have been nobody would have been willing to say anything because they would not. But because you had emotional safety net in that room over the 10 weeks, I said that they laughed, right? And we all enjoyed it. We got feedback. So it's about little by little, how do you build those things? And it's really answering those 3 questions. Do you see me? Do you hear me? Do you value me? And when Donnie shares something with me and I go, wow, that's a great freaking idea. We're going to implement Donnie's idea. And I give you credit. I don't say it's mine. Great idea, Donnie.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make that happen, right? You're seen, heard, and valued. Now, guess who I got as an ally moving forward? You. right? And
Yes. Yes.
because I simply because I took some time.
Some hearing you say, take the time, get to know people, steal their ideas. I'm kidding. Don't steal their ideas.
Mhm,
Share their ideas, and then, but also, like what I'm hearing you say is that leaders probably could
mhm,
be better at asking questions. Like we can ask those questions that actually prove that we see you, we hear you, and we value you. It has to do with that.
mhm.
We're
Yeah.
gonna tail end this thing here, Milton. I'm gonna real quick for those of
Yeah.
you who are here. Oh, you can't see this. Well, that's fine. Milton, we can find you at achievenext.com. And I want you to tell us about the work that you guys do there. But
Mhm,
can you, like, I've been itching. There are 5 conversations, and I know that this is like a lot to like we could probably do a
mhm.
whole episode on just the 5 conversations. But could you
Right.
rapid fire the 5 conversations and tell me the ones that leaders are avoiding the most?
Oh, absolutely. Well, here are the 5 conversations, right? They're conversations around clarity, around coaching, around accountability, around recognition, and most importantly, around repair, right? And if there's a conversation that people tend to avoid, it's the last one I mentioned, the repair conversation, right? Um, you shared with me earlier that you have a family. You got a wife, got 5 kids. You got 7 kids or 5 kids? I can't remember.
8.
8. Oh, Jesus. Okay. You had one while we were talking. But anyway,
Those are 5 grandkids. No, those are
5
5
grandkids.
grandkids. You did
Okay.
hear the number right,
5
yeah.
grandkids, eight kids. Okay, great. All right. So, and so clearly you and your wife have been together for quite some time. Right? In any relationship, there's going to be moments, right? When we're not getting along, when we're upset with each other, with all those kind of things, right? And what's important now, do the people who you're closest to, are they willing to give you some leeway? 100%. That doesn't mean that in those moments that relationship wasn't impacted. It was. It's just that you had enough reserves in the bank that the withdrawal, I like to think about it in terms of a trust account, right?
Mhm.
That trust account, there was enough in there to cover it, right? But if all you do is withdraw from that account, eventually that account's going to go, you're going to have a shortage of funds. So the whole idea is this repair conversation, right? Like, hey, I made a mistake. You got to own it. And then say, here's what we're going to do to make this thing get better.
Mm, mhm.
That's important because we need to be able to replenish those funds. And it takes a different kind of courage, right? Especially in a business context, to own your frailties, to
Mm.
own your mistakes. And if there's a conversation that I think that leaders tend to avoid, it would be that one, right? The idea that because sometimes leaders get the idea that because I'm the VP or the director or the CEO, I don't make mistakes or I can't show vulnerability, right? But we're all human. We all screw up. And one of my favorite axioms is if I don't at least make 2 or 3 mistakes every day, it's been a useless day because I haven't pushed myself.
You're not
Right.
doing
So
enough, yes.
no. So the mistakes are part of it, but we have to also be big enough people to repair those.
That is good stuff. Milton, you have absolutely brought the thunder. One of my favorite axioms is to lead is human. And speaking of which, we can get your book on Amazon.
Yes, sir.
It is on Kindle. It's in paperback. You can just go there and click and get it. You're going to get all of this stuff that Milton has taken the time to codify and simplify so that you can digest it and put it to use. Milton, if there is um, just one message that you would say, just one conversation a leader could have to get things back on track. Maybe they've lost the room. You mentioned one really good one, that repair conversation. Is there anything else that's tickling your brain right now? And by the way, find Milton on it, achievenext.com. He'll speak, he'll coach, he will get your managers leveled up into leaders. But Milton, is there a conversation that we can give to the leader who knows that they're just not, they just, people aren't with them right now?
Sure. I guess, I think, you know, like it's like you're asking me to pick amongst my grandchildren. I got five. Yeah. But anyway, but I would say, I, I, I would say really, really important is the first conversation, clarity. What does success look like? Right? Not what you do every day, but what's success? And how is what I ask you to do or what we need to do on a daily basis tied to that success? Right? And if people are clear with it, because so many people work for so many organizations, and this will be the last question I ask: how many times have you been asked by somebody who you work with, who you work for, to say, "Hey, Donnie, I need you to do X," or "Hey, Milton, I need you to do Y," or "This person needs you to do Z," and in your head, because I just saw your eyes go up and to the left, that's that. What's this about? Right?
Yeah.
And that is, yeah, right. We all do it. It's a natural reaction, but it's how many times has that happened where you go, "Why in the heck is this person asking me to do X?" And you don't see the value, right? Clarity. Okay, so that you understand that I am not asking you to waste your time, that there's a value here,
Mm,
and there's something that this is the WIIFM. What is in this for me? What's in this for all
that's
of us? And I think
yeah,
clarity is huge.
yeah, yeah. That is so good. Hey, let's get, guys, let's get out of the rat race of being human doings and working with human doings. We're human beings. So go free that person. Milton, you filled up my notebook. I'm glad I got a fresh one for you, my friend. Where can we find you? And again, I just want to say thanks for bringing the thunder. Tell us where we can get you, my man.
Sure, absolutely. You can always reach me at Achieve Next, www.achievenext.com. You can send me an email. Love to hear from you. Milton Corsey at milton.corsey at achievenext.com. Please feel free to reach out. Love to talk to you. And I'd love to share ideas. So please reach out. Looking
Thank
forward
you
to it.
so much, Milton. Thank you so much. Coming up tomorrow, if you've ever had a life message that you wanted to take to YouTube, well, you're going to want to. Well, sorry, it's blurry there. Doesn't matter. You're going to want to be here for tomorrow. We are going to have Evan Carmichael, guy with 4.6 million followers that have grouped around his positive message called Believe, and you want to be there for that. Today's show brought to you by Coach. Oh, how do you get that on there? It was on there a second ago. Brought to you by CoachBook AI, where you can turn your static book for authors. You can turn your static book into an experience that transforms lives. So, on behalf of the team at Fuel and here at Leadership Lab, I'm Donnie Tuttle. Thank you so much for joining us. Milton, thanks again.
My pleasure. Great. Take care.